this list. This is similar to what happened back in March in that flooding event. And once the initial declaration was granted, then other parishes were added pretty quickly. After signing the declaration, the president did call me to tell me that certainly the people of South Louisiana are in his thoughts and prayers, and that the federal government under his direction would be a solid partner with the state as we confront this disaster and enter eventually into the recovery phase. I want to encourage anyone out there who's been impacted by this storm, whether or not they were in one of the 4 parishes that I just listed. If they have been impacted and suffered damages, they should register their damage claims at disasterassistance.gov online. Again, that's disasterassistance.gov. Register your damage there, whether or not your parish has been listed in the federal declaration or not. An update on some of the things that are happening. Presently, there are more than 10,000 people in shelters across southern Louisiana. Certainly most of those right here in the Baton Rouge region. Because of the capacity requirements that we need in order to accommodate that number of people, and as well as any future folks who need to be sheltered, at my request, the Baton Rouge River Center is going to serve as an additional shelter here in Baton Rouge so that we do not have to unnecessarily relocate people out of town and any further away from their homes than is absolutely necessary. The River Center in Baton Rouge will be opened at 10 p.m. tonight and will remain open for as long as necessary to accommodate the people who need access to shelter. We are continuing to work around the clock to get assistance to everyone who needs it. I encourage everyone, if you need assistance, to dial 911. That remains the best way to access help. With respect to the situation on I-12, it is vastly improved tonight. The National Guard used their helicopters throughout the day to deliver food, water, and medicine to those stranded, as well as to remove people from their positions and bring them back to a place of safety. Also, because the conditions improved on the interstate, especially over near the Livingston-Tangipahoa Parish line, we were able to alleviate about a 10-mile stretch of stranded vehicles, and those have all been moved away at this point in time. And I can report tonight we don't have any stranded motorists on I-12. We do have a few dozen vehicles, however, that we will reunite with their owners as soon as the situation allows. As of right now, there have been more than 20,000 people rescued from their homes in and around southern Louisiana. Hundreds and hundreds of pets as well. And we are very thankful for the people out there who are heeding the warnings that they're being given to evacuate when that is the proper thing to do, but also to not get out and sightsee. This is an ongoing event, and we still have hundreds of road closures around South Louisiana. Roads that have been open are now impassable, and that's the case even though the sun came out later today, and that's going to be the case over the next couple of days. So I'm asking for people to remain patient and compliant, and we are going to get through this. I'm also very thankful not just for the president's call today, but Governor Bentley of Alabama called, as did Governor Bryant of Mississippi, to offer any assistance that we might need from them, and certainly we appreciate that. We also appreciate the fact that more than 400 people have signed up on Volunteer Louisiana, and we are encouraging additional folks to continue to sign up if you're in a position to volunteer and help us work through this tragedy and also through the recovery. We have a lot of work ahead of us. The website for Volunteer Louisiana is www.volunteerlouisiana.gov. Obviously, it goes without saying that the people of Louisiana are resilient, and I'm asking for continued patience. I'm asking for prayers, and I'm committing that we're going to do everything we can as a state to partner with local government, with the faith-based organizations, and the volunteers around the state of Louisiana, and now as well with the federal government, to best serve the people of Louisiana through the remainder of this crisis. I'm going to be followed by Colonel Mike Edmondson, the Louisiana State Police, who has some information to share with you. Following his presentation, we will open for questions.
Thank you, Governor. I want to stress the fact that this is still a significant flood event. So nothing has changed from that. You heard me earlier talk about the fact that as we work through these issues and work through the problems out there, what's most important to us is to get to those people that we need to. We've got to make a decision based on life and death and quality of life. That's been the most difficult thing that we've worked through over the last couple of days, to certainly try to make that decision. We hear the people. We're taking phone calls throughout the day to get that information to people that are in their home. I'm telling you, if you're in your home and you're in a safe location, that is the best place for you to be right now. Stay in that location. To venture out into the waterway, we're seeing, especially in the Sherwood Forest area, we're seeing water rising in those areas, especially going east from throughout Baton Rouge over towards Denham Springs area. That's where the water's rising. Stay in your homes if you're in a safe location. Venturing out to the unknown only becomes problematic, and then we have to do a search and rescue on you. Those areas that we know the water is rising, is going to rise, we're asking you to make the decision. If you can go out on your own, if you can get to another location, knowing that water is going to be there at some point, we're asking you to make that decision, because then it comes to the point where you don't have to rescue at a certain point after that. So work with us on that. Listen to us as we talk to those areas. I think that certainly the weather people in each one of the stations are giving out the information that needs to get out there. And I think that's what's most important. We spent the day working with AT&T to try to get those locations up so that we could have communications in those areas. I will tell you that they've worked with us. They're located right now 11 additional towers they're going to be putting out in the Livingston, the Denham Springs area, Baton Rouge, North Baton Rouge. They're putting one at Southern University, one on the LSU campus, one in Livingston at the Emergency Operations Center through that area, one near the airport for the Emergency Operations Center in East Baton Rouge Parish. Celtic Studios, Ascension Parish is going to have one, and two in the downtown area, and one over here at GOSEP, so we can make sure we can maintain communication in those areas. What's going to be critical in the morning, and I know that certainly Secretary Wilson is going to talk about it too as far as that. We've been working extremely close throughout southern Louisiana. As we're sitting here now, we've got water on the roadway in Crowley, Louisiana, so we've had to redirect traffic over on the 190. So as we're getting those things, and DOT is sending their personnel in to check that roadway and look at it to make sure that once that water does move on, is it still passable. They're still working and looking at bridges throughout the state. I will tell you that I-10 eastbound is closed at Segan Lane. We're diverting traffic over to 61 southbound. I-10 westbound is closed at LA 73, which is Prairieville. At that point, we're also directing traffic over to US 61. I-12, as the governor talked about earlier, I-12 is closed at US 61, which is Airline Highway, and it's diverted over to US 61 in that location, also off of I-12. I-12 westbound is closed at I-55, so between 61 all the way to I-55, I-12 is still closed in that location. DOTD is vetting those bridges and vetting the roadway. As soon as we get those roads open, we'll do it. But keep in mind, we'll do it when it's safe. Because public safety, as we stand here tonight, public safety is still our #1 priority. US 61, that's Airline Highway, is closed south of Greenville Springs Road to Hanks Road. So that's at the Greenville Springs Road location, Airline Highway in Greenville Springs. US 190 westbound has become impassable at the Amite River. That's in the Denham Springs area. We've been dealing with that all day, so that shouldn't be an issue at this point. We've been reporting that. And US 61 on Airline Highway at Highland Road in East Baton Rouge Parish is currently experiencing high water. Traffic is still passing through. We're slowing it down and trying to get as much traffic as we can and get in that area. Keep in mind in the morning as you come to work, please go on the websites. Please look at DOTD, look at the state police website to make sure that you know the roads that aren't passable. It's no use going to those locations, and we had people doing that this morning. If you know it's closed, you're not going to be able to get through that. So please check those websites to make sure before you drive, check to make sure that those roadways is passable. And Troop L, which is US 190, it's closed in both directions from Robert, Louisiana into Hammond. Again, that's been closed, and I-12 is closed westbound at I-55, but it does remain open eastbound into Mississippi. those have been critical locations. Again, it's a significant and very active flood event. We're working throughout as we stand here tonight, wildlife and fisheries, and the fire marshal's office is doing active rescues of a nursing home in the Sherwood Forest area that they're moving patients to in that area. We're still working with Ochsner Hospital at the I-12 O'Neill. That's been something that's been working throughout the day. We're going to be supplying security along with the National Guard. There'll be state troopers at Celtic Marine, Celtic Studios, but also at the River Center downtown. We'll be sending state troopers to those locations. We've been working with LSU. They've been extremely helpful to the day as we open up that location for medical evacuees into that area. President Alexander has been in touch with us throughout the evening to make sure that they're given all deployable means from LSU to help us work through that particular location. But again, we'll get that information out to you through our public information officers, but please work with us. If you don't need to be out, look, there's not a curfew, we understand that in Baton Rouge, but here's the deal, we don't need you to be out if you don't need to be out. It's not a sightseeing thing to go out and want to see this, especially at nighttime. So we're asking you to please stay in your homes if that's the safest place for you this time. Again, 911 is the best number to call. If you're not getting through, keep trying, because you're going to work through on that number. That's the best location, our best number to call as far as the police for emergency response to get out to you. So please work with us on that.
Do you have an update?
Thank you, Governor. The only other additional update that we'd like to share with you is on I-10. As the Colonel said, the Governor said, this is a evolving situation, and we are closed on I-10 east and westbound from 165 to I-49. And it's very important, if you're in that area, not to get there, because you're going to be limited with water encroaching on the road, and you're going to be forced to be in a situation that you may end up having to do a very unsafe thing, which is go the opposite direction of the proper roadway. So please heed to the alternative avenues that we've provided for you on the message boards, on 511la.org, the DPS website, social media. It's very important that you adhere to those so that you can be safe and you don't put an extra burden on the resources that the state's using in more critical situations to save lives, to have to come and help you get out of that situation. So we would encourage you to pay attention to that particular detour.
Thank you, and with that, we will take a few questions. Yes, sir.
We're hearing that you faced some pushback in getting the River Center open, in particular from Mayor Kip Holden. Is there any truth to that, and can you comment on the process of getting that open?
Well, the mayor and I had a conversation about it. He expressed some concerns. We then talked about the need for additional capacity and the fact that we didn't want to have to move people north and out of the area. And he then agreed to open the River Center, and as I mentioned to you, in about 45 minutes we will have it open, and it will function as a shelter thereafter.
How many people will be able to get in there? Any estimate?
We are still looking for that capacity. We're actually talking to the fire marshal now, and as you know, the River Center is a complex of different buildings, and so it depends on how many of those we open, but it will be several hundred at a minimum.
Governor, with the President declaring the emergency state in those parishes, what does that mean in practical terms of additional resources that will be coming our way?
Well, I anticipated the question, and it gets fairly technical, and I don't want to misstate it. So I've got Jerry Stoyer today with us from FEMA. He's going to come up and talk about the assistance that's going to be available now that the President has signed the declaration. But before he comes up, I do want to revisit this point. If you'll remember back in March, after the initial declaration was signed by the President, we were able very quickly, with additional information and documentation, to get additional parishes added. We fully expect that that's going to happen in this instance as well. And so I don't want anyone who has been impacted by the storm and who doesn't live in one of those 4 parishes to think that this situation is not going to be treated the same. I have every reason to believe that it will. So Jerry, if you would come up and talk about the importance of the declaration today and what it means for the people.
Yeah, thank you, Governor. Basically, what the 4 parishes that were designated for will now be eligible for our individual assistance program, and we'll also be able to work with the local jurisdictions on debris removal and all the emergency protective measures that have been going on for the past 3 days. In addition to that, any direct federal assistance now that the state needs to meet any unmet needs they have with regards to the ongoing flood fight. We'll also have some capacity for that. To that end, by the middle of this week, I expect to have over 1.2 million liters of water and 750,000 meals at a staging area near Alexandria for use should the state need that. I would also like to add that, and I appreciate the governor advising survivors that regardless of where they live in the state, if they feel as though they've been affected, they should register. And in addition to the website, www.disasterassistance.gov, there's also an 800 number. That's 1-800-621-3362. That's 1-800-621-3362. Now, in addition to the part of the individual assistance program, which is designed to work with those survivor households, we will be working very closely with the state to establish recovery centers in each of the designated parishes. That's going to take some time because, as the governor and others have spoken to, we're still very much in a response phase right now. At the appropriate time, these centers will be identified. It will be very closely coordinated with the state and the local jurisdictions, and we will have specialists there that will be able to work with survivors on their individual needs.
Thank you.
For Mike, that's all right. I mean, there's been so many instances of civilians just taking it upon themselves to take out their boats and help rescue people. What are you advising overnight as far as either continuing that or waiting until the morning to do that?
And let me tell you something. We know we're mostly ordinary individuals, but we've seen some extraordinary efforts by human beings just wanting to help each other. And I think that's what we are in South Louisiana. That's what we are in this state. And I think to see that coming together, they just wanted to help. They didn't want any recognition. They didn't want anything for it. They just want to help. Here's the problem. We need to know where they are. So if you're going to deploy, I mean, you need to let certainly the Wildlife and Fisheries, certainly the Fire Marshal's Office let us know that you're deploying in an area, because if something happens, we want to be able to come find you. So what we've asked people to do that's been helping us is to work with Wildlife and Fisheries and the Fire Marshal's Office and the Fire Department. Let your local fire department, if you're working maybe with the volunteer unit or something like that, at least let us know that you're out there and where you're trying to go, because we may be all trying to do the same thing. And that's been some of the issues that we ran into, because we've literally had hundreds of people that brought boats in and just wanted to help. And they've been extremely helpful to us, and we certainly want that, and we want that to continue. But work with us on that. I think that's the safest thing to do, because we've had a couple instances where we actually had some first responders that the boat flipped over, and the current was pretty strong in one area, and they actually went and got one of the first responders that was actually holding onto a tree. So those things are reality. They're happening out there. This is, we're seeing a lot of stuff on TV. That's us. That's what's happening in this area. So again, I can't stress enough the fact that this is a significant event. It's still ongoing. Rescues are taking place as we're, just because it's gotten dark at night doesn't mean we've stopped. Those rescues, those evacuations, those visiting homes and stuff like that, working. Certainly Sid Goto just left, the sheriff, working with them. We've got sheriffs in from all over the state that's helping us. That's something that's worked very, very well for us in there, for our first responders, either the city police from around the state or the sheriffs have actually come in to help us. And then, of course, the National Guard. I mean, is there one better anywhere than we have here in Louisiana? And they've been extremely helpful in doing that. So,
do you have an update on the number of dead as a result of what's been going on?
I don't have the number. We've heard someone fluctuate. I'd rather make sure we're accurate on that. But I've heard some differing numbers out there, so obviously we need to get you that exact numbers we know.
One last question.
Yes.
What do you guys, I heard a lot of concern today from people who don't have flood insurance because they never thought their house would flood. Is there something they can do? I mean, I'm a little afraid people are going to just be like, oh, it's all for naught. What?
The fact of the matter is there is assistance available to them through FEMA. If they lived in an area where flood insurance was not required, they didn't have flood insurance, and then they suffered damage because of this flood, it is limited, and the maximum amount that can be awarded is $33,000. But you don't get a $33,000 award unless you document that you sustained damages in that amount or more. Otherwise, you're going to get an award from FEMA that will be in that amount. But it is my understanding, Jerry, that those individuals would have to live in one of the parishes that has been declared nationally, federally, I should say, which is why we're going to continue to work to expand that list of the parishes that will be in the federal declaration. But they should not give up. There is some help available. It is limited and it is not automatic. They have to document their damages, and that's why we're asking everybody to go ahead now and register in the manner that I told you about earlier. We'll take one more.
What's
Yes,
the
sir.
latest on the LSU, the medical shelter?
They are setting up right now, and I will tell you, we're getting a lot of great assistance from some LSU students who came in early for the next semester, and they thought, I think they were going to be doing some other things on Sunday night than what they're actually doing. But this is incredibly important because we're going to continue to receive more people who need access to a medical needs shelter. The traditional location, the one by contract we have, is at LSU. So that's where we're gonna set up. It's been used before for that purpose, and we have a few individuals at the other shelters who are candidates to be transferred to this shelter once it opens up as well, and it will also be able to accommodate a large number of new folks who need shelters if they have medical conditions that warrant their placement there. The other thing that I don't know if it was mentioned tonight is the federal declaration is also going to enable us to receive a medical team that the federal government is going to send here. They're either on the ground now or they're going to be on the ground early tomorrow to help us to take care of these individuals. So thank you all for coming out again tonight. We will certainly let you know the next time that we believe we'll have enough information to warrant an update. Just before we sign off tonight, just one more appeal to the people to be patient. Stay home, don't sightsee, but if you are living in a house that is in danger of taking on water and you believe it's prudent to leave and you've been advised to leave, we're asking you to do that as well. We know that the areas of concern are shifting from north to south, and so it's South Baton Rouge now, it's Ascension Parish, it's South Livingston Parish, and of course we have another region of the state just to our west around Lafayette and Vermilion and Iberia and other places that are also being severely impacted by flood damage as well, causing the need for emergency evacuations and shelters. Not to the extent that we have it here in Baton Rouge, but this truly is a storm that has ravished all of South Louisiana. So we ask for patience and we ask for prayers, and we want to wish everyone a good night. Thank you.